we appreciate being here. I understand this is the 17th year this expo has taken place. The first time that the mayors have come, or we've probably been here, but at least the first time we've had a chance to speak. And could you take a guess what I might be speaking about? Just any guesses are fine. Oh, Gilbert, okay, I'll talk about Gilbert. I begin with something that happened in the month of September, I think very special for Arizona, for our East Valley. Gilbert was recognized for receiving the most prestigious award from the Department of Defense, what's called the Freedom Award. Have any of you served in the military? Have any of you served in the National Guard or Reserve? Okay. Right now, our military is about half comprised of the National Guard and Reserve. And this award came from the support that the town of Gilbert gives to those who are in the National Guard and Reserve. And so I had the opportunity to be back in Washington, D.C. to meet with the Secretary of Defense. And he was most pleased with not only large businesses that were being recognized, but to have a municipality. And so for those of you who have served, thank you for your service. And I'm glad that our Gilbert was recognized for our support of the National Guard and Reserve. Any of you who have not had a chance recently to come to our town hall, right outside the front door is a memorial that was unveiled just a few weeks ago on the 10th anniversary of 9/11. It is very inspiring and spectacular, and so if you're in the area, please stop by and visit that memorial. Now that's kind of the appetizer. There are two major areas of discussion that I will be talking about. First is the overview of Gilbert. I know that I see some Gilbert residents here, but just to check, how many of you are Gilbert residents? Thank you for being here. And you can fill in the cracks. For the other group, because this is a business expo, I'm going to do the overview of Gilbert, and then I'm going to do some specifics related to business. To begin with, I need some help. We have some props here that give some of the details, but I also have 5 props where I need 5 volunteers. Any 5 can come up, just, thank you, Jim. You can hold that up. Okay. Kathy, you can hold this up. Oh, Barb, good. Let's see if this might, I think, I'll just stand up here. So, in receiving an overview of Gilbert, I begin with the letter R. What in the world could the letter R stand for? Regional. When we look at today's event, there are 4 chambers. There are 4 cities. From a business perspective, it doesn't really matter the boundaries of a city. It's sometimes mayors that put up boundaries, but we focus on services that the cities would provide. But from a regional perspective, you can be proud of the 4 cities, the 4 chambers who are working closely together, because this is really how great things happen. We think in our area of recently First Solar announcing. The impact that had on the whole East Valley is immense. The expansion of Intel, the impact again on the whole East Valley, immense. We have in Tempe, Arizona State University, and all of our educational groups. Mesa has announced the Knowledge Power Corridor, and then we have the strength of other universities. We have the strength of our local community college system, and then the great strength of something that is so attractive in Gilbert, our public schools, our charter schools. So from an R standpoint, I also add, recently opened, officially, the Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center. And not only for our East Valley, but for the entire state. This will be an international call for people to come to Arizona. So from an R standpoint, that gives you the quick overview of Gilbert. How do we make things happen working as a region? The next one that we hold up, our prop, is CSV. Now, if CVS Pharmacy were here, they'd like me to change the order just slightly, but in Gilbert, we just voted and updated our general plan. And part of updating that general plan was to look at what is Gilbert known for and what do we want to be known for in the future. In a large group of those participating, the question was asked with a whole whiteboard filled with different attributes of Gilbert. We summarized it in 3 words. Okay, group, clean, safe, and vibrant. That was the vision statement that was summarized in our general plan. And so in giving you an introduction of Gilbert, that would be a prop that I would want you to remember. Now, Kathy, if you can just flip that to the back side. Part of understanding the clean part is that Gilbert is still relatively new. The Lewis family moved to Gilbert 26 years ago. There were 10,000 residents. Many of you from Gilbert, sometimes that's how we talk about, well, when did you arrive and how big was Gilbert then? Because it has grown at a rapid pace. Gilbert now has, we're approaching 220,000 citizens. So with that growth, we have a lot of newcomers, and from a business perspective, a lot of opportunities. The reason why I put the 2/3 up is that we are 2/3 built out, and so a lot of, in our general plan, in a lot of leadership settings, what we're looking to do is planning for that next third, which we anticipate could happen even in the next 15 years, welcoming another 100,000 citizens. And Kathy, you can turn that back to the CSV. Next, we see what we would call the number 5. What in the world is the number 5? A clue might be here to my left. Back to that CSV. From a safety standpoint, Gilbert has been recognized as the 5th safest city in the United States. And we're very pleased and excited to announce that. Next, we have the 36 and 41. What would that be? Oh, now this is a little bit hard to see, but behind me, Money Magazine last year announced that Gilbert was the 36th best place to live in the entire United States. Business Week also had a recent announcement that Gilbert was ranked 41st. We are very excited about that. There are various reasons for that, and it has much more to do than the mayor. It has to do with individuals like this who just happen to stand up and volunteer, and we thank you for that. And so when you look at Gilbert, you can dig in deeper and find out why would Gilbert be rated as one of the top places to live in the United States. We'll tell you more. The next number that we put up is just to emphasize, it's number 9, that not only are we a young community, average age 31, very large families, but recently Gilbert was listed in the top 10 places for retirees. And we were listed at number 9. And so here we go from start, or from young age to old age, a great place to live. So that is your overview of Gilbert. Let's do a quick review. The R, regional, the CSV, clean, safe, vibrant. The number 5, 5th safest city in the United States. The number 36 and 41, recognized as the best place to live in the United States. And then what's our number 9? For the retirees. All right, the 5 of you did such a great job. If you could stay in place, put your props down. Now we're going to be a little bit more specific to business. Kathy. Part 2 of this presentation, the next 5 props. We begin with the first one, which says OTB. What does that mean? I like this. Keep coming. Good. And unfortunately, I didn't mean to see that. The emphasis in Gilbert, and it is a common phrase that all of us, even in our individual businesses, are saying, we took the phrase open for business and felt that with the emphasis on the T, that we would change the word to open to business. And in our Gilbert culture, in our Gilbert business environment, that means many things. It means more of, sometimes you could say open for business. Well, maybe we're open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. we wanted to portray a message to our businesses and those coming to Gilbert that it's 24/7, that we want to make sure that we are supporting our businesses. And similar to some of the things that Mayor Smith said, if something is not going right, that open to business culture is that we want to hear about it and correct it. And so from a Gilbert perspective, OTB is part of a prop that we want to portray a message that we are open to business. The next prop is 202. As I mentioned, we grew rapidly, and this freeway shows up right in the middle of Gilbert. In many ways, some have said it completely changed Gilbert because it put right in the middle of our town an opportunity for businesses, in many cases larger businesses, to bring jobs along the 202. Some of the businesses have come there. In many cases, we have vacant land, and those businesses will come. And so the 202, as it goes up to Mesa, as it comes around to Chandler, has been very attractive for business, and we note that. And for businesses that are looking for land or buildings that have open space, the 202 is an ideal place for you to consider. Next, we hold up a prop that says Biomed. We have strategically identified 5 initiatives that the town is focused on. One is very specific to economic development, which is a biomed life science environment. This has a lot to do with some key things that are happening, that have already happened in Gilbert, where some hospitals, Mercy Gilbert as an example, very focused on cardiovascular research with the opening of the Banner MD Anderson Cancer Center and the Celebration Stem Cell Center. There's a lot of things happening with biomed and will happen in the future, so that is a strategic emphasis. Now, I have the next prop that is opened up. You are seated near some chairs, and if you did not get a chance to get this brochure, there's some over here too. I also asked Dan Henderson to step forward a little bit more. In Gilbert, the one that is making things happen from a business development and economic development standpoint, Dan Henderson. So as we break, if you have additional questions, Dan's here, can give a card out, we can go receive your card. We're open to business. Dan is leading that charge, and inside of this brochure, in some of our other communities, there are acronyms that describe some of the key businesses that are part of our business development. In Gilbert, I'm kind of making fun of myself because I asked, Dan, do we have kind of a key acronym or term that people could remember? And the answer is no. But in this brochure, as you learn more about some of the key industries that we are focused on, that have come to Gilbert, that will come in the future, this is your acronym. So you'll find in this brochure that the H stands for healthcare, life sciences, that the A stands for aerospace aviation, the C stands for clean renewable energy, the T stands for technology, the second A stands for advanced business services, and then the R is retail, entertainment, hospitality. Now that may be more that you can remember in one setting, and that's why if you'd like to learn more, feel free to take a copy of this brochure. The last prop. When we think of the 202, and it kind of implied that we're looking for larger businesses to come, and that may be the case where it's convenient and where the jobs can come, we do not forget the strength in Gilbert. And for many of you here in our East Valley, is the small business, is the home business. And one reason why I bring all this together is, and I'll use Intel as an example, there were some studies done that when an Intel plant would open up in a new community, that 1,700 businesses would be impacted positively, where they could help supply as a vendor or services or secondary needs. And in some cases, there were up to 800 new businesses that actually started because of what was around Intel. And so we bring this all together, that both from a large business perspective and then a small business perspective where they work together to help each other out, that is the gamut of a business environment in the East Valley, and certainly something that I wanted to emphasize in Gilbert. So we had the props to give you an overview of Gilbert. We have these props to be very specific to Gilbert from a business perspective. Let's do a quick review. So that first one, OTB, what does that stand for? Open a business. The 202 impact in Gilbert is vacant land, buildings are right next to the freeway, ideal location for businesses to thrive. The next one, the Biomed, is a strategic initiative of Gilbert. And does anyone here remember the HACTAR, what that stands for? So healthcare, and I'll abbreviate it, aerospace aviation, clean renewable energy, technology, advanced business services, and retail, entertainment, hospitality. Then the SB stands for small business, the HB. On that note, the 5 who stepped forward to be volunteers to hold up these props, can we give them a nice big round of applause? I was so impressed. You may sit down. The wrist action there and just the smiles and so forth, I could not have found any better 5 volunteers. At this time, we have a couple of minutes, and so if there were any questions, we'll take them. We do have some Gilbert resources. We have our chamber president, Kathy. Thank you again for the introduction. We have other chamber members. We have Dan Henderson. And so were there any questions you'd like to ask about related to business in Gilbert, related to what's happening in Gilbert, and anything I could help with?